Yeah, so does this one also work?
Yeah, we're good.
Cool. So I want to talk about a project called...
Who are you?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm G.
And I'm Arkinox.
GSovereignty. I want to talk about a project called Nostr, which is something I've been working on for a while, and recently received an OpenSats grant, which I'm pretty happy about. So yeah, thanks. So like the general thing is, Bitcoin means you don't have to think about money and payments. It solves that problem. And what I'm trying to do with Nostr is build something that does the same thing for human organizations. So everyone can work on like a shared project without needing to solve the problem of what work people should do, the direction that the project should go in, and how to distribute revenue and stuff like that. So like at the moment, the way we do this is with a company structure, which is nested under the state, and that's a pretty big problem if you want to do something that the state doesn't like. So like, and it also makes you look very centrally planned. So I mean, there's some stuff in the US that's happening right now, basically anti.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard, but in the United States, there's some new regulations regarding LLCs that is going to be coming into effect next year. Basically, it doxes everyone who owns LLCs and requires a bunch more paperwork. So it's an active attack by the state against LLC corporations in America. There's a lot of people who use LLCs because they're overseas and they want to be involved in companies in the United States, but after these new regulations go into effect next year, they won't be able to do that if their home country isn't okay with what they're doing. So organizing things under the state is basically, like G said, if you're doing anything that they don't like, if your jurisdiction isn't okay with what you're working on, you can't use a company structure. And so we need a new way to organize projects. And you know, there are other things out there, but I feel like Nostr is the best thing we've invented so far.
So yeah, and also just like as soon as you have a red as a company and you're responsible to the state, everything in your company becomes centrally planned. There's no alternative to that because someone's responsible to the government. So that's not going to work, especially when you can't build a Bitcoin company like that because the first thing is state. We're still in like the honeymoon period of Bitcoin where the state doesn't really care that much. But when they start really caring about it because it impacts their tax and whatever, they're going to start coming after Bitcoin. And the easiest place to start is with anyone who's doing any Bitcoin kind of company. So like you can't, like there's no such thing as a Bitcoin company. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. So anyway, there are a few projects. I'll just quickly show you like, this is the current implementation. These are the people who've started using it.
So to use Nostr, you first get into the identity tree, which means someone else already in the tree has to add you. Then you're able to create projects under Nostr, and then you're also able to contribute to projects.
Okay, so yeah, there are a few projects launching on Nostr, and Arkinox. Arkinox is really here because I'm not very good at presenting. So
yeah,
he is.
You can tell, right? Yeah.
But the other reason is Arkinox is launching some stuff on Nostr. So
yeah, so I have 3 projects. Basically, everything I'm doing on Nostr, I'm putting on Nostr because I think it just makes sense. I have 3 projects that I'm launching on Nostr. The first of which I also got an OpenSats grant for, which is the cyberspace protocol. I'm creating a digital cyberspace like meta-reality metaverse on Nostr, which if you've ever heard of the metaverse, that might sound stupid, and I guarantee you it's the only metaverse that's not. So, and then I'm also working on 2 implementations of the cyberspace protocol, which is Onosendai, which is a VR cyberspace client, and then I'm also working on another implementation which is more augmented reality based called Yonder. And if you're hearing this right now, you are hearing an announcement of a brand new Nostr client that no one knows about yet, called Yonder, and you can use it right now at go.yonder.me, and it's a mapping client for Nostr. And so you can create places, you can navigate to places, and soon you'll be able to use encrypted communications to share your location real time with other people. But these are all, I'm putting all of these under Nostrocket because I want to incentivize other contributors to come in and work on these projects. And Nostrocket has a really great incentive structure to help that happen. So what you do to put your project on a Nostrocket is you break down what your roadmap is into bite-sized problems, which are basically like, okay, well, if I'm going to do a mapping client because that helps humans coordinate, which is good. And then I break that down into a smaller problem. Well, I need to, make a mapping client. And then I break that down into a smaller problem like, well, what kind am I going to use to store map data? And then you keep on breaking your roadmap down into smaller and smaller pieces until they're so small that someone can just grab one of those problems and solve it. And when they solve it, then they're able to request merits for solving that. And merits are basically like they're a representation of your contribution to the project. It's like a quantification of what you've done towards the Nostrocket project. So imagine that you have, imagine your commit graph on GitHub represented your right to any future revenue of any of those GitHub projects. That's basically what merits are. And so if that project generates revenue or has some sort of lightning payment thing built in, the people who contribute to that project can actually, they can receive those payments directly from the customer. A great example of this is a relay. So there's actually a relay under Nostrocket called FlameBucket. Yeah. And so if you contribute to FlameBucket, the relay software, and you earn merits for your contributions, then when someone pays to sign up for that relay, those sats actually go directly to you in proportion to how many contributions or merits that you've earned for contributing. So that means that people who are working on a project get direct non-custodial payments for what they're doing instead of being in a company structure where you have to do all the paperwork and you get a paycheck paid out and G gets to decide if your contributions were worthy or not and all that stuff. We just bypass all of that and then every contributor just gets paid directly from the customers through the Nostrocket protocol. So because the contributors are incentivized in this way, that makes them focus on solutions that are on the direct path to revenue, which the idea behind that is that revenue is sort of like the common indicator of a successful endeavor. If it makes money in the marketplace, that's probably something worth doing, maybe. It's better than nothing. So did you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I'll just say like the problems are structured, are they nested?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's the root problem, which is humanity is not living up to its full potential. And that's nice in general, so you can kind of nest almost like anything that helps humanity under that, as far as defining your roadmap into problems. And the nice thing about that is that when you're defining your project in terms of, in that context, that sort of directs every project under Nostrocket as something that should benefit humanity in some way. And so that's a little bit different way of thinking about it than the way of thinking like, hey, I just want to make as much money as possible and figure out how to do that. It sort of directs all action towards the betterment of humanity. And obviously all these projects are open source, so that's also in that same vein of kind of building software for humanity. So the next thing we want to kind of cover is like the philosophical approach, or like what's the big idea behind all this? Because organizing a project and figuring out how someone can contribute is one thing, but what's the vision ultimately? And I guess to me, when not having invented Nostrocket, I'm just one of G's biggest fans in terms of this project and stuff. Not anything else about him, just the project. But when it comes to Nostrocket, what I feel like it represents for humanity, it's like a brand new digital economy just on the internet that anyone can opt into and start using their talents to earn money, like real hard money, directly to them. And it just kind of gets rid of all those barriers. And I'm hoping that in the future, Nostrocket is something where people who don't have many opportunities where they currently live can find opportunities and ways to contribute valuably to different initiatives that are through the internet, through Nostrocket on Nostr. So did you have anything you want to add to?
Not really. That's
philosophy.
Pretty good.
Okay. So the 3 projects that I'm doing, here's what they would look like. I want to talk about how they look like in the context of Nostr, but here's what they would look like outside of Nostr. If I was just going to go about this in a traditional way, if I'd never heard of Nostr before, this is what I would do. I would own the project. I would own all future revenue of the project, and I would pay it to people whenever I felt like it or whatever I saw fit. I would control how much, when, and who is compensated for contributing. I would control what people can contribute to the direction of the project. And then, consequently, I'm also on the hook for recruiting and fundraising and running a business and liability to governments and all that stuff. So it's not really good for me. It's not really good for the contributors. The incentives are kind of stacked in a, I mean, it's like very common, right? I mean, companies are, that's like how you organize human action right now. But the incentives aren't great. And it's not good for the project ultimately, like the roadmap of the project and where it's going. It doesn't have the same freedom that a Nostr project could have. So with Nostr, nobody owns the project, and that's a kind of a radical idea. It even took me a little bit to like let go of the idea that the things that I'm like, you know, imagining, I'm just going to like let go of all ownership of that and just make that completely open source and completely owned by anybody who wants to contribute. But it's just better. It's just better that way. It's kind of like how, you know, Fiat Joff invented Nostr, but he doesn't own Nostr. That's what we're talking about, like that kind of non-ownership of something, even though you can contribute to it. With Nostr, the revenue is distributed proportionally to the contributors by their merits at the time of the customer's payment. So we don't have to worry about you know, payroll and stuff like that. And then finally, the direction of the project is set by the contributors with every contribution. If you make a PR to a Nostr project, there aren't really any conditions for it to be merged other than it must not break anything right now. You know, it can't cause errors or introduce, you know, it can't be malicious. But basically, if you make a PR to a project on Nostr, it's going to get merged if it works. And that means that anyone who contributes to it can basically help shape the direction of the project. They don't have to get approval from me to decide what new features or what's going to happen with Yonder or Onosendai or anything like that. Anyone can just come in and code, and I don't even get to like turn them down. If they add a feature and it works, it's like, okay, well, I guess that's part of it now. I mean, you can always fork the project if you want, right? But it's better if we work together. So having an open mind about where things are going and using it like that, it's a radical way of kind of allowing anybody to come into a project and kind of be an owner of it. So anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the pull requests have to be solving a problem, that's all. And there are rules about problems.
Yeah, so there are a couple conditions, but the conditions don't really have to do with my opinion.
Yeah, they're rules-based. So, yeah.
So,
oh, sorry.
G, do you want to pull up Yonder?
Yeah, sure.
Just show them. Yeah, I saw a question over there too.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Would you relate this to kind of the way that a DAO would work?
Like kind of, except that DAOs, the way that we think of DAOs, the way that they've been done, are like totally bullshit. So, like, it's not really the right way to think about it. It's, I guess, if you really want to get to the original term of the meaning, it's kind of like a DAO, but it's like an easily forkable DAO, so it's nested DAOs maybe, but not the shitcoiny way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so regarding the merits, like when is the allocation defined for a given problem statement?
Yeah, so the merits are, merits are like created in response to, it's like proof of work, like did you solve the problem? Is it solved? And then it's a little bit like we don't have enough time to go all the way through it because there's like, I'd have to be here
I can simplify it for you.
Yeah.
So when you solve a problem, you put out a request for merits, and you choose how many merits you think it's worth. You probably want to choose a number that's proportional to the other contributions that have been made to the same project. And then that merit request is approved by the existing merit holders of that project. So they get to say, yeah, go ahead.
And so if you make that contribution, they don't feel that your merit is as valuable as you think it is, can they use your contribution still?
Yeah.
Yep, but they don't have to approve it. That's right. Yep.
So, but then like that, if you don't, approve the merits, if the person who contributed doesn't think it's fair that they're not approved, they're not going to contribute again. So you're just lost
And other
the
people
contributor.
probably won't either.
Yeah.
If
So
they have a history
if
of
it's not
rejecting,
fair, it's not going to work.
yeah, you have to. Yeah, there's a lot of social dynamics in terms of that. But the voting system, it's got these ratios where you have to have like a great majority of people to approve, and you have to have a very low minority to reject most proposals. So it kind of gets like a good kind of middle ground. Like if everybody hates something, then yeah, it should probably be rejected. And if everybody loves something, then it should probably be approved. And so yeah, if they deny your request, it's like, well, good luck finding people who want to work on it. And you could also just go fork it at that point. If you're like, well, you're not going to work with me, I'll fork it and I'll put it under Nostr, and people can come work with me instead. So it's very radically open, and I think that there could be times when people do that. They kind of fork off and use their own. Yes. Yep. Yep. Well, go ahead, Jay.
It's a bit more nuanced,
Yeah.
but it's a long explanation because there was a problem with like there's been other projects in the past that have tried not exactly this, but they've tried like every aspect of this I've tested it in previous jobs or previous whatever, and so like you can't just have it based purely on merits. Like the weighting can't be done like that way because then there's all these little consensus hacks and stuff. So there's some more to it, but the protocol is on nostrocket.org. You can see sort of how that works. Yeah, it's easier to read than explain it.
Can you pull up Yonder?
Say again?
Pull up Yonder?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait,
So
sorry.
go.
Yeah. Hi. I'm working on two different screens.
No problem.
Whoops. All right.
So yeah, go click on my beacon on the building here. So I just it's nearby. It's one of those. Oh, those are old ones.
Is it? Okay.
Anyway, maybe refresh it and zoom out or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and refresh it. So anyway, Yonder is a map. It's like a social map. And it's actually, this is implementing, or will be implementing the cyberspace protocol, which you can ask me about if you want to know more. But you'll be able to basically, like, it's going to have an augmented reality component, and then you'll be able to see things physically in front of you by looking through your phone's camera. But right now you can create places. So now we have a Nostr client where you can basically make your own Google Maps. My goal is to put Google Maps in the dirt. So if you work for Google, sorry. But I want to just make it so that Google isn't the intermediary of all mapping. I don't think you should have to go through Google to be on a map. And so this is the Nostr version of that. And I would love for other Nostr map clients to start kind of doing a similar thing. And we can just kind of make this part of the ecosystem. But the cool thing about Yonder is the people that you follow, you see the global button. If you hit that, it changes to friends, and then you can only see the places of your friends on the map, the places that they create. So as a business, if you want to create like a place for your taco stand or whatever, and you move, like it's a food truck, you can easily, it's a replaceable event, so you can just update your place, move it wherever, and then you can send out the N adder. And then you can tell people, hey, follow this npub, and you can see where I'm at any given time. And it updates in real time because it's WebSockets. So it's like a really convenient way to have like a frictionless Google Maps where you don't need like approval for any of that stuff from Google. And there's also the Geochat. So if you press the purple button down there, you can see, I guess you have to zoom out and pick another place, but this loads any geotagged messages on the Nostr protocol. So kind ones that are geotagged pop in here, and if you go to wherever you're currently at in the world, you can post Geochat messages from there too. So it's kind of like I'm trying to hook into the kind one ecosystem, but make it in a place. So you can have conversations in an area of the map. And the geohash changes size as you zoom out and stuff, so you can see some messages pop up there. You can zoom out enough where it gets to be like half of a continent, but soon I'm going to make it so that you can reply to people in other geohash regions, but you'll only be able to start conversations in your current region that you're at, according to your GPS. So we got GeoChat, we got places, you can create places, and end-to-end encrypted location sharing is coming soon too, as soon as as soon as Hodlbod finishes the private group's NIP or whatever. I'm just going to keep bugging him about that. So enjoy it, play with it, give me feedback. This is a Nostr Rocket project. I'm happy to have other people involved. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Not yet. If you want to build it. What was that? 2 weeks. Yeah, it's just going to be 2 weeks. But yeah. Thank you. It uses GeoJSON that is stringified in the content tag. I'm sorry, Pablo, but I stringified some JSON. But yeah, if you use GeoJSON, it's basically that's. I didn't write a NIP. There's a discussion about that, but
there is a NIP for encoding GeoJSON.
Oh, you mean the geohash or the geotag or the gtag?
Yeah, you can encode GeoJSON. There's a NIP for it. You should use it.
Sure. Yeah, I need to find that then. I guess I didn't know or I wasn't aware that it maybe came about like when I just haven't, yeah, I should look into that. Cool. And maybe I'm already using it. I don't know. I'll have to look at, yeah, I've been in some discussions on the PRs for geospatial stuff, but part of me was just like, well, this isn't going anywhere, so I'm just going to do something. Yeah, my plan is to add so you can upload photos and other content to those markers as well. Just haven't gotten there quite yet.
Lead time, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah. No, you don't need an approval process because like it's a long story. I'll meet you afterwards.
I think we're good on what we're going to present, so we're happy to just, yeah. More questions.
Do you mean in terms of like how many merits?
I think he means like if you don't know how to do a PR, how do you?
Oh, okay. So you can still like claim merits for work that's not technical. Yeah, that's just yeah. That's
naturally, it's going to be a lot of code to kind of begin.
It's just that right now, like all the problems are technical because it's not finished being built.
But actually, no. But some of the problems I've actually claimed merits for were literally designing logos for stuff that people were working on. So yeah, it can be pretty much anything that's solving a problem. It doesn't have to be code.
But the problems like need to be there's more to it. There's like because rockets can be like you can have like rockets underneath other rockets.
Which is like a project.
Yeah, like an extra project. And so like, but the merits need, like if you're claiming merits for something, the existing people, like one of the rules is like there has to be a problem that's in a critical path towards more users or more revenue, because otherwise it's in the wrong direction. And so like that's a judgment that like existing merit holders make.
So I have a bunch of different ideas for that, but I'm also obviously happy to hear ideas. One obviously easy thing is you just use the friends thing. The global feed might become pretty useless at some point on Yonder. But I'm also looking at proof of work as a way to kind of resolve those disputes. Like I had an idea where if you're zoomed out, really, really high proof of work places would still be visible. And then as you zoom in, like low proof of work places would be visible. So you could use proof of work as kind of like a filter. Ultimately, there will be there's other ways that I'm thinking of making it so that, you know, if someone claims a McDonald's and another person puts a place on a McDonald's and it's like two different, you know, claims. I mean, ultimately, the best way is that you find the business on Nostr, you find their profile and you follow them. And you know it's like that pub key actually owns this place, and then it shows up on your friends list. Yeah, that's another way. We're looking at potentially having like a verified place relay that you could optionally pay for, and then we would just serve places that we know are legit, or they could have like a special mark on them. Obviously, that would be a monetization strategy. It's not completely authoritative, but it would be an authority, so other people could also do that. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you could kind of come at that problem, and maybe multiple ways of doing it are needed.
Cool. We've run out of time.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.